to the Tina Butty podcast. I'm Erica.
And I'm Dominic.
And today we are going to be doing part two of the reacting to American assumptions about Britain.
Yes.
Yeah. And
so we're reacting today again.
Yeah, well, we're just going to react to some of these assumptions. You know, we didn't get to all of them last time because we were doing shout-outs and we were talking about specific assumptions.
Yeah, last time was
it? I don't know. Whenever it was.
Last
part
week
one.
in time. On part one, we talked about our followers on Instagram.
Yeah, some of our
assumptions
about
Britain.
Yeah, some of their assumptions. And so today we're going to just talk about more specific assumptions. And also we got some assumptions from our 10-year-old niece.
Our 10-year-old niece.
Yeah. So before recording this, we asked her what some of her assumptions were about Britain because we thought it might be fun to see what a kid thinks. What a kid who has never traveled to Britain thinks Britain might be like, you know?
Yeah.
And obviously, these are going to be based on Disney films, Harry Potter,
Hallmark. Hallmark movies.
So we got some pretty fun answers. And actually...
We can kick off with them.
Yeah, we can start with hers.
Good kick off.
Actually, some of them, I think there's probably adult Americans who think the same thing.
Probably. I mean, you know, if all you do is watch like Disney and Hallmark and Downton Abbey or whatever, then you're going to think this, you know.
So you want to, okay.
So, well, yeah, everybody and everything is more fancy.
Yeah, that's what she said. Oh, her name is Addison, by the way. She's my little niece.
She's 10 years old.
We featured her on this podcast before,
I think we have, a while back now. Maybe last year.
Yeah, last year.
When we first started out.
For the school series, we had her on for the elementary school portion, I think.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, she and her brother had a little YouTube channel. They haven't been posting videos on there, but if you want to go look at them for some reason. Adventures with A and P.
Adventures with A and P.
Yeah. Anyway, so she's Addison. She said that she thinks that everyone in Britain, everyone and everything, because she included the buildings and everything is just more fancy.
More fancy.
In Britain.
It's just fancier.
Yes, the people are more fancy.
Very fancy.
The words, she said, the words that they use are more fancy.
Words, yeah.
Yeah. And where she gets this, because she knows you.
I mean, everything I say is very fancy, okay? I think our listeners would agree that everything that comes out of my mouth is very fancy.
I mean, the top hat that you have on right
schmancy. Now. The top hat, the monocle, the little cane I carry. And when I'm shocked, that monocle just drops out like... Yeah. And sometimes, when I'm not wearing the top hat, I'm wearing a deer stalker and I'm solving crimes.
So, kind of going on with
that, yeah.
With them being fancy.
The women all wear big fancy feathery hats.
Yeah.
And they carry fans.
I love that.
They carry fans and go...
Yeah, she goes, do they all carry fans over there? And they're just kind of like, you know, like giggling.
You know, because it's perpetually 1807.
Yeah, or like 1700s even. Like,
well, yeah.
Like, I'm picturing more like Marie Antoinette, kind of.
They kind of did it up until like the very last years of Victoria's reign. Very early 1900s. I think the Victorian era is when it died out. You know?
Yeah, she's kind of right, though. I mean, they do all wear big, fancy, feathery hats if there's, like, a wedding or something like that.
Well, yes. I mean, it's more of a fancy... Someone goes, I've got to buy a hat for the wedding.
Yeah.
And that's the only time, like, a British woman will buy a hat, I think, is to go to a wedding or go to the races.
Yeah. Do they wear them at funerals, too?
So, well, yeah, but they're not big, fancy, feathery ones, you know? Like,
it's
all, like... Well, they shouldn't be.
They're more somber.
Nothing can upstage... You know,
the
dead person.
Oh, no.
You know, and it's the same in weddings. You know, you're trying to upstage the bride with your fancy hat.
Yeah.
I can't see the bride and groom because there's a peacock on someone's head and it keeps opening its fans and going. You know?
Oh my god. Yeah, so she thinks everyone carries umbrellas. They just have their umbrellas out.
Everyone
all
carries
the time.
umbrellas all the time because it rains all the time.
Yeah. And they have big balls and galas.
Big balls and galas.
All of this goes with the fanciness of it all.
All fancy.
She's going to be sorely disappointed when she finally goes to Britain for the
well,
first
yes.
time.
I mean, yeah. I'm sorry, but you know.
Yeah, what are some of the other ones that she said?
Everybody writes in cursive.
Oh, that was the best one.
Everybody writes in cursive, which is like joined up writing for those who don't know what cursive means.
Yeah.
You know, like joins up writing. You know, like those fancy like scripts that they used to write.
Yeah, she must be thinking that, right? Like,
and we'd write with quills as well, you know, with a quill. Like, you know, it's a very Harry Potter, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they use their quills and everything, you know, it's very old-fashioned.
They've got their parchment.
Parchment paper, you know, parchments.
They've got their parchments out. And
scrolls.
And their feathered quills. And they're just like, they're scrawling their letters out to each other. Yeah. That was so random when she said that one. I love it. Everybody writes in cursive.
If you are close to the Queen, you get more money.
Yeah. I don't know what that means.
I thought she meant like, like if you're part of her family, but I'm guessing like if you're a friend of hers, if you're a friend of Her Majesty, you know, you go to the coffee shop, she'll slip you a few quid, you know. She'll go, Erica, have a few quid on me, okay? It's the British taxpayer.
Go buy yourself a tea.
Yeah, go buy yourself an ice cream.
Yeah, I really don't know what that one meant.
Slip you a few quid, you know, just like oh, you get a bit more money, you know.
Yeah.
A bit more fancy house.
You know, she's probably not wrong,
it's not right, yeah, I mean...
If you were that
if
close... If
you got down to the nitty-gritty of it, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're
that close to the Queen, you probably do have more
But then
money.
again, I don't imagine her butler or anything like that. I mean, they live at the palace. I mean, Buckingham Palace... I mean, obviously the Queen doesn't use... Buckhouse. You don't use that many rooms. I mean, I don't know. How many bedrooms has it got? I think it's got like 12 bedrooms or something, isn't it?
I have no idea. You're asking me
I don't know.
I've been
Yeah,
there.
I mean, I haven't looked it up. I mean, it's got like 12 bedrooms. And it's like, do you really need that many bedrooms?
Well, someday we need
And I mean, half of it, I think only half of it is like heated and electricity or something like that. I read somewhere because, I mean... The bill must be massive for that place.
Someday we need to get down to like the specifics of it all, because I didn't realize that a lot of the royal family lives in some of these other properties that are on like, you know, they did at one time. Like you see that in The Crown.
What?
The royal family like lives. They all live in the same house. You know, it makes sense.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, they all live in like Buckingham Palace. Yeah, There's like it's like an estate.
They get like a wing, like
a wing.
Yeah, like okay, you live in that
and
wing.
It's quite far away from, you know, wherever the wing that the Queen is living in. I mean, if you see the Crown, and I mean, it's like there's Buckingham Palace, then there's Clarence House, which is just down the street. Then there's St James's Palace.
No, but something we were watching,
which is down the street.
I think it was The Crown, where they live in. This is totally off topic, but you know, where they live in like another wing of the same building. I can't remember. It wasn't Buckingham Palace.
Clarence House, maybe.
They're like, oh, they live in this, and they call them like apartments.
It's because they've made them into apartments.
And it's just like, what? It's like the whole freaking royal family. Okay, we'll get into it.
And then they knock through, and I mean, you know, if you,
it's very interesting.
I mean, one day we'll probably do an episode on the royal family's houses and how they live in them today. You know, which would be interesting because, you know, everybody just thinks the Queen lives with her servants in Buckingham Palace and she has the run of the entire thing. And it's like, no, there's probably places she's not allowed to go.
Well,
no, because I mean,
why would she be?
Because it's not her house.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's not. It's the Crown's house.
Right.
She's just the reigning monarch.
She's just the resident.
It's like Charles will be the next one.
The Crown is the
or William,
landlord.
You know, the Crown is the landlord. The Crown is the Crown. You know.
Yeah. Interesting topic for another podcast. So
she can't just go down. She can't just go down to the kitchens and say, "All right, Phyllis, how are you?" You know,
she might.
Because
if I were
they'll
queen,
freak
I
out.
would be like, I'm going to go to the kitchens. And
They'll be like, "Oh, Your Majesty, you're
visit
not
my
supposed to
friend."
be here. It's past your bedtime. Did you not drink your tea?" You know?
Oh God. Oh, these last two were pretty cute. Yeah. She's like, Americans visiting Britain might get run over because
we'll drive on the left.
They drive on the other side of the road. I noticed she didn't say wrong side of the road, though, like so many Americans say.
Oh, driving on the wrong side of the road.
Well, she's not driving yet. She's not of driving age yet, so she doesn't consider
it's
it
not
be
the
wrong.
There is no right or wrong, except in Britain.
But we were like, yeah. That's accurate, yeah.
it's accurate, yeah, because, I mean, you go to London. For anybody who's never been to London, they have a helpful guide for people walking there.
Yeah.
Because, you step to the edge of the curb where you're supposed to, like where there's the traffic light and everything like that, and they've got it on the round, look left and look right, or some of them say just look both ways, or whatever, just because it's just look both ways.
Look left and right.
Because here, I still do it. I've lived here for 10 years. I mean, we don't really walk too many places where we have to cross a road.
Yeah.
But when we do, like when we're downtown or whatever, I still look the wrong way.
Yeah.
I'm looking the way the traffic is not coming from,
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that car's going away from me.
Yeah.
And it's like a one-way street or whatever.
Yeah,
and I'm
downtown.
just like, oh, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm.
I should be looking this way. I turn, I'm like, oh, there's the cars. That's where they're coming from,
And then her last assumption is that Americans visiting Britain may not know what time it is.
They don't know what time it is.
Yeah.
Because we're at the time difference.
Yeah, she was talking about the time difference.
We've kind of explained that to her before, but I think she still doesn't really get the time, because she thinks like, oh, it's like a different time altogether.
I don't know.
To what this one is.
Because I don't know why. Yeah, I'm
it's
not
like,
sure.
they're 6 hours ahead, so they must be in the future. Because when I was a kid, I used to think that kind of stuff too. Oh, Spain is a couple of hours ahead, so Spain must be in the future then. Well, and it's like, no, they're at the same time as we are right now, but a couple of hours ahead.
But you get there, and you're just like, because it's not the time that I'm used to, I have absolutely no idea what time it is.
I have absolutely no idea what time it is. What time is it? It's 3:00.
No, when she said that though,
is it 3:00 in America?
I instantly went to the fact that Britain uses what we in America call military time.
Yeah.
And we use, what do we call it? Just regular time.
Analog time. Analog. I guess 12-hour clock and 24.
12-hour clock, that's
12-hour clock and 24-hour clock. I mean, you call it military time. To Britain, it's just time.
Yeah. But so for that reason, Americans may not know what time it is when they look at a clock. That just says like
what's the time?
13:02 or...
Hey, buddy, what's the time? And you look out, it's like 2130, It's just like... I'm in the year 2130,
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, no, it's 9:30. That's, and I think the reason being is because, like, in summer, you could have a nap, right? And you could wake up.
Right.
And it's still light outside. It's still daylight.
Yeah.
And you'll have no idea whether, you look at it like a clock we've got here. Yeah. And it says 9:00. And you're like, is it 9:00 in the morning or is it 9:00 at night? Because it's so bright out there.
Yeah, I mean, you used that argument before.
So it's like it's easier for people to go, okay, it's 21:30. That means it's 9:30 at night. Or if it's 09:30, then it's 9:30 in the morning.
I mean, most places in America, you're not going to have that problem.
No.
I've argued this with you. Not thinking about the fact that you're right, during the summer in Britain it's still light out at 10:30 at night,
and then in the winter it gets darker at 4:30.
Yeah.
So it's like, if it gets dark at 4:30 in the afternoon, is it 4:30 in the morning?
Right, because he said to me once, "Oh,
people don't know what time it is in Britain."
Know? Yeah, he said. Yeah, he said to me, "Well, if you didn't use the 24-hour clock, then how are you supposed? If you woke up and it was like." And it was 9, and the clock said 9:00. How are you supposed to know it's 9:00? And I'm like, well, if it's light outside, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. If it's dark outside, it's 9 o'clock at night. And it's just like, yeah, it's just that simple over here. You know, I don't ever wake
country, so yeah.
I don't ever wake up at like, 8 a.m. and go, oh my God, is it 8 at night? Or is it 8 in the morning? How long have I been asleep?
Some people sleep for hours in Britain, it's like, it's just that kind of thing, It's just like you take a nap, you get some kip. That's a British colloquial term for going to sleep. And, you wake up and you're just like, what time is it? And it could be 3 o'clock in the morning or it could be 3 o'clock in the afternoon because you don't know.
But it's good. Even in Britain, it's dark at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, though. But it's dark at 3 o'clock in the afternoon sometimes in the winter, too.
Oh, my gosh. Okay, so anyway, that was assumptions about Britain from a 10-year-old.
Yeah, that was it.
So moving on. This one sounds like it might be an assumption from a 10-year-old, but it's actually assumptions from adults.
We live in castles and cottages. That's all that's in Britain now. No fancy schmancy duplexes or
apartment
complexes or tenement buildings. It's all just castles or cottage. Those are your only two options.
I don't know that I assumed that is how you all lived.
You did.
But that is how I wanted you all to live. That's what I wanted to see.
We were watching I've said this in the last one, I think, talking about a few vloggers were going to Butty in North Wales.
Yeah.
Or I was talking about it on that, I think it was our patron podcast, actually.
Oh.
But,
oh, yeah. Places we want to visit.
Places we want to visit, Butty. And,
we've been, actually,
you've seen pictures of it, and you're just like, and Erica goes, yeah, that's how I thought Britain was going to look like. And I said, well, it does, because that's what it looks like. That's an actual picture of people live in that town, you know. Yeah. And it's like, it's not just for the tourists, people do actually live there. It's not like Disneyland where people go home at the end of the day. It's like, oh, we don't actually live in that town. That's just for your benefit, We don't actually dress like this or, talk about Queen Victoria. We just,
gosh.
But it's all like stone. It's like beautiful stonework and, little pretty windows and cobbled streets and everything,
Yeah.
And, people just assume that's how it is all the time, They don't really associate Britain as being modern. And that's partly probably because PBS shows so many period dramas.
Yeah.
And so, Downton Abbey and Paul Dark.
Yeah.
And Upstairs, Downstairs, and the films like Jane Austen's,
and you have,
like Emma and Pride and Prejudice and all that kind of stuff. Harry Potter, they go
set in the modern day, but they live at Hogwarts, which is a castle.
And you only see, and they kind of do old-fashioned things, and it's like an old-fashioned school of like the 1800s,
yeah.
Which is kind of like makes it more magical, I guess,
Yeah. So our reaction to that assumption is. Yes,
and cottages.
There are castles and cottages.
The Holiday. That's another. Cameron D. If anybody's ever seen The Holiday, they go to they do a house swap, and she's got this massive LA apartment, which is not LA apartment, LA house, because she's like a Hollywood jingle writer or a screen or a trailer maker. Cameron Diaz, and that's what Brits assume everyone in America has. A big.
Modern,
big modern, like 2 million acre house with 200 wings, it's so massive, pools in every room and all that kind of stuff,
We'll be doing...
and then in Britain, it's like, Kate Winslet, she lives in a cottage in the country.
Yeah. All snowy.
Snowy, and it's far away from everyone, and it's like, where's that?
I think it was supposed to be in Sussex, wasn't it?
It was in Sussex, but I think it was actually filmed in Ireland. Actually.
Oh, really?
I'm not sure about that. I think but I think most of the cottage scenes were filmed in Ireland.
Speaking of what Brits assume Americans live in, we're going to be doing a companion podcast to this episode, probably next week or the week after, sometime soon.
Companion podcast,
where we react to British and European assumptions about America and Americans.
Yes.
Yeah, so if you are not American and you're listening and you have assumptions about America or Americans, send those in to us on wherever.
Instagram, Twitter,
Facebook, yeah.
We're Tea and a Buddy all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Or you can email too. We still have old-fashioned email.
Old-fashioned email. Who emails anymore? Well, apparently you might. So, teaandabuddy@gmail.com.
Yeah. Email us your assumptions. Let us know your assumptions and we'll give you a shout out. And I don't know if we'll make that one a two-parter or not. We'll have to see when the time comes.
When the time comes.
Yeah.
But there's only 2 accents in Britain. That's the next assumption.
Yeah.
There's only 2 accents in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
Cockney and posh.
Hello, governor.
Hello, governor. Oh, hello, governor. Where's me tea?
Where's me tea?
Yeah, that's what they say. Hello, governor. Where's me tea? I've heard that before.
I think the hello, governor comes from like Dick Van Dyke and Mary Poppins.
That's what. No, that's it. Somebody said that. We saw that somewhere. So I grew up thinking that Dick Van Dyke was actually British.
Oh yeah.
Was actually English. When I saw that film, because I thought that's how he spoke, and it's like his accent gets ridiculed. Yes, I can do a hello, Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins.
I mean, it's not even that good, actually. You think about it, it's just all over the place.
The thing is though, when you're American and you've never been and you've never met anybody with that accent, it's like, that sounds a good accent, you know? It's like, yeah, he's doing a great job there, Dick Van Dyke.
He's doing a great job. I mean, his performance was great. I mean, he could dance. Not many Brits can do that. So it's just like, you know, and sweep chimneys at the same time. Chimney sweeps. We had a chimney sweep once in our old house.
Chimney.
And I didn't even think about Dick Van Dyke or Mary Poppins when he was sweeping our chimney at all. So there you go. I mean, maybe some people do say, "Oh, yeah, you know." Are you secretly American doing a Cockney accent?
That was my absolute ultimate movie when I was a kid.
Yeah. So
yeah, that would have been the only thing I would have been thinking about. I would have been like, if only I can get a hold of his little thing, then I can go up to the magical world on the rooftops.
He had a lot. I remember it was like a long thing, and he was just like shoving it up
on
there.
On the rooftops of London.
On the rooftops of London.
Cheru.
Thank you. Thank you, Dick Van Dyke. And posh, obviously everybody talks like that. Talks like the Queen. Talks, yes. Hello there.
Hello.
How are you? Hello. How are you doing?
Can you do it? Can you do like a really posh accent?
Really posh accent. That's very...
What do they say? It's something about the plum.
Plums in your mouth. Talk with a plum in your mouth.
Yeah. Is that literally how they... I mean, where does that saying come from?
Because it's like having I think a plum in your mouth.
Yeah.
It's like how they get elocution lessons, how you get to round the vowels. Because you talk like that with the plum in your mouth. You see?
So it's just...
And you're just like, run up the flag, and you're British, you see?
But I mean, is it just metaphorical, or
I think they might have actually. I think they might have actually done that, like a plum stone or something, just to kind of round the palate. Because they were talking about, it's like, oh, this is the cool part of how you can tell who's actually where they're from based on how round or flat their palate is.
Really?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
I think it was on Harrow.
Oh, yeah.
When he was doing an autopsy, he was like, oh, we can tell this guy is not actually native to the USA or something. Yeah. Maybe, no, it wasn't actually. It wasn't Harrow. It was the other show he was...
This is what you tune in for, just to hear Dominic and I just have a discussion about a random Australian show that we watched.
It was forever. Both starred Ioan Griffith, who's Welsh. Wales! And, he said, oh yeah, that, you can tell by the way it is, And I think that might be, I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I haven't done enough research on it, but yeah. But you're also talking with a plum. Why'd you speak with a plum in your mouth? Why are you speaking like that? You say, oh, yes, I just talk like that, you see? I like talking like that because it's my accent, you see. Yes, I was in India, you know.
One last note from my niece on this topic. She had the opposite kind of assumption about Britain as far as accents go.
Yes.
And this is based, I think, solely on Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, yeah.
Yeah. And she said she thought that in Britain everybody would have like different accents, and it must be difficult for people to understand each other when they're talking because they all speak, nobody has the same accent in Britain.
That's kind of true for everyone in Britain to kind of like, you know, if you're from somewhere with a thick accent like Birmingham, you know, you know, just like,
yeah,
if you're like from Brighton or something like that, you're going to be like, what's he saying? You know?
Yeah.
Or Geordieland, for example, Newcastle upon Tyne, you know, it's like, wait, hey man! You know, they're talking really like fast, you know, you know.
Yeah.
I was just like, what is he saying? You know, it's because he's talking, I can't understand a word.
Yeah.
I didn't understand a word of that.
Yeah, so that was an interesting assumption because you felt like that's kind of an accurate assumption.
It's an accurate assumption, yeah, because I'd say, you know, posh people who talk like, oh, hello, you know.
Yeah, a Welsh person might not be able to understand that.
It's like, what's he saying?
Yeah,
he sounds posh, so he's got money. I don't like him.
Because I remember watching Harry Potter with her and her asking, I think, about Cho Chang's accent. Because she was Scottish, wasn't she?
She was Scottish.
In the
Hello.
film. Yeah.
Hello. Harry Potter. Aye.
Yeah.
Harry Potter. Harry Potter. Harry Potter.
Really quickly, another one that we kind of talk about all the time, and everybody knows this assumption. It's the assumption that it rains all the time.
It rains all the time.
Yeah.
And we've never seen the sun.
Yeah.
Shining so bright.
This assumption always makes me think of, there's a Beatles interview where it's an American guy interviewing them, and they say something about, oh, how have you enjoyed your stay in Miami or something like that? And Ringo goes, oh yeah, it's great, there's so much sun or something. And they're like, oh, don't you get the sun in Britain anymore? They're like, oh no, it's finished over there.
That was when they just came back.
Oh,
you know,
that's it,
and the British
How
guy
did you like your time?
And he goes, oh, they don't get sun up in Liverpool, do they?
Yeah.
And he goes, no, it's finished up there. You know?
Yeah. We've talked about it on the podcast before. Obviously, the sun comes out. I mean,
yes.
I've mentioned that I've had a sunburn in Britain from walking to the beach.
Yes.
During the summer, so yeah.
But there's one thing, when the sun does come out and the temperature creeps up to, say, 75 degrees, Brits can't handle the sun then. It's too hot.
Yeah.
It's too hot. Someone turn it off. Someone get the roses out and point it at the sun.
Yeah.
You know? It's too hot.
And though sometimes you might not know, based on all the fake tanner that British people wear, they're all pretty much pink.
Well, it melts off then, you see.
So they sunburn really quickly and really super easily. So yeah, I'd say that's
we just turn into lobster red, you know. You know, the red coats. It's like we just turn all red. Can't handle the sun. And there's another, everyone lives in London and it's the only city. Yeah. It's like you get that a lot over here. It's like, oh, and how close is that to London? It's like, what does it matter how close it is? You don't know where London is anyway. Where's London in Britain?
Rude.
Come on, tell me where it is. Exactly. Is it in the north? Is it in the south?
No. As far as everyone living in London, that's a bit ridiculous. It's like thinking in America, oh, everybody lives in New York City, you know.
Everybody does live in New York City. They do.
But though it's like still a bit...
Or they live in LA.
Though it's still a bit ignorant, I guess, I can understand a little bit more people assuming that London is the only city.
It's the only big city.
Britain,
it's the only city. You know, because everybody's just like, oh, yes, where you're from in London. Because I've had that before. Are you from London?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I'm not from London, actually. I'm from Devon. A little place called Torbay, which is a seaside resort. Agatha Christie was born there. And they're like, who's Agatha Christie? She's like, she's the female Arthur Conan Doyle. But yeah, it's just that kind of thing, you know, people just think, oh, London, that's the only city and everything else is just countryside.
Yeah. It's
you know, they forget
towns,
about Manchester,
villages.
they forget about Birmingham. Birmingham, I think, is even older than London,
Yeah.
to be honest. I think that's the oldest city in the UK.
Really?
Before, we're going pre-Roman here. We're going
Yeah.
pre-Roman, because London kind of became Londinium.
Yeah.
Because that's where the Romans were like, oh, there's a little inlet here, we just go up and we'll just make our camp here, and then just grew out, and, you know. So it's like, that's where the Romans came from, you know, like the Romans lived, shall we say, and, you know, they did everything, plumbing, roads, all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
But yeah, Birmingham, I think, is the oldest city, but I could be wrong. It could be somewhere like Derby. I don't know.
Someone will correct us.
Someone will correct us. And we like being corrected. Yes, we do. Brits are annoyed about losing the Revolutionary War. This one, you kind of get, because like it's like around 4th of July, people are like, oh yes, you know.
The hilarious thing is most British people do not even know. Like, if you said the Revolutionary War, that America would not come to mind, I don't think.
No. I don't think a Revolutionary War to a Brit, they'd be like, what? You mean like the...
You might think about the French Revolution before you thought about the American Revolution.
Maybe. Or even the Russian Revolution, you know? It's like when they overthrew the Tsar, you know?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you guys don't even learn about the Revolutionary War in school,
no,
do you?
and you know, people go, oh, because they saw they lost, and it's like, oh, it's trying to, like, you know, cover up that fact. It's like, well, if you think about it, America was only one place in an entire 1/4 of the earth Britain ruled.
Right.
Rule Britannia. And it's pretty much all gone now. India, you know, most of South Africa, I think. Canada, Australia.
Is no British Empire
there is no
anymore.
British Empire anymore. It was kind of like superseded by the Commonwealth, which are like, you know, like, oh yeah, you can apply to be part of the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's just like a ceremonial thing now.
I think that's just part of our, like...
Queen Victoria was the last ruler of the British Empire.
I think it's just part of our American arrogance that we think, oh, well, yeah, you guys lost a bunch of places that you once had, but we're like, surely the most important place that you
know,
lost,
when you think about it, it's only the 13 colonies, you know?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Everything else after that became America, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's how it's been portrayed in media, you know? It's like, oh, yes, America, you know, great stuff, you know?
Right.
Yes. Everyone, Brits are so sore about losing it, and we won.
And the last one, not to end on like a little bit of a want, but everybody assumes that British people have small houses and small cars.
Do they?
I think it's kind of accurate.
No, I've had that before. It's like, oh, you're all small cars over there, like little clown cars and stuff. You know?
I remember in Llanelli in Wales, one time we had walked, I think, to the grocery store, and there was a giant Hummer in the parking lot.
Yeah, and it was taking up two or three
I
spaces.
was just like, what in the world? Why in God's name and where would you drive a Hummer in this country?
The only place you would drive it is on farmland.
Yeah.
You know, but then again, you just want to drive a tractor on farmland. You know, it's just like...
Well, you could drive a little Jeep.
Little Jeep, yeah, we got Land Rover.
That's just crazy.
Someone obviously bought it in America and paid to have it shipped over to the UK. And then were annoyed because someone complained, oh, you're taking up 4 spaces with that, mate.
Yeah.
Can't park there, you see? You know, and someone's going, oh, it's my Hummer, yeah, it's great.
But anyway, yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up for us. Let us know if you can think of any other assumptions and send them in. And we can talk about them. Yeah, we can always do another one of these. Yes. They're fun to do. They're fun to, like, either say, yep, that's right, or, you know, kind of debunk them as we go along.
Debunking and
confirming. Mostly it's debunking.
It's mostly debunking. I mean, stereotypes and assumptions, yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for listening. As always, we appreciate your support. And we will talk to you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye.